What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 1 First Look. And I have a special guest on the show today, Eric from Fantasy Football Consultants, who will be sharing his DFS picks along with a masterclass they have put together on YouTube that is countless hours of fantasy football advice and strategy. And it's totally free. The link is in the description, and we'll get to more on that later.
Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon.
so you don't miss our new videos.
And like I said, we have Eric here from the Fantasy Football Consultants YouTube channel. He's also going to be giving you his picks. I am a huge fan of their show. I have the link to his YouTube channel in the description of this video. We would appreciate that you guys go check them out. Drop them a like, subscribe to their channel. They produce amazing fantasy football content every single week. One of my favorite shows on YouTube. Okay, so let's get into our picks for NFL Week 1. Okay, taking a look at the quarterback position. I like Russell Wilson from the Seattle Seahawks playing the Atlanta Falcons, who have the 9th worst defense overall, and they gave up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks last year. Russell Wilson averaged 20.9 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 4.7 rush attempts per game. He was scoring 22, 22, and 20 fantasy points in the last 3 games, and he got 7, 9, and 8 rushes in those games. So this guy was running all over the field. He's projected at 20.9 fantasy points here in Week 1. He's $8,400 FanDuel salary and $1,400 less on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 48.5 points scored in this game, and they only have the Seahawks favored by 1. So we got a high-scoring game and a competitive game. This game should be a shootout, so I like Russell Wilson here versus the Atlanta Falcons.
At QB, we like Cincinnati's Joe Burrow at only $6,600.
It's a trap!
We don't think it's a trap. His low price tag at QB 22 on FanDuel should allow you, if you go cheap at defense, to select 2 of the following 3 studs in great matchups: Christian McCaffrey, Michael Thomas, and George Kittle. Why do we like Joe Burrow besides the price? He's an overall number 1 NFL draft pick for a reason, throwing for 378 yards and 4 TDs per game in his last year of college. And he does run some, which helps so much in fantasy. Several reports that Burrow has impressed Bengal coaches during preseason practices.
I mean, listen, we're talking about practice. Not a game. We're talking about practice.
Fair point, Allen Iverson, but we think his strong play will carry over to the games. You have to remember, last year Cincinnati ranked 19th out of 32 teams in passing yards, but that was with subpar QB play, a decimated offensive line, and injuries to wide receivers A.J. Green and John Ross. All of those should be better this year. We think Burrow should have a good Week 1 as a home favorite with a solid implied total of 24.
Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. I like Alvin Kamara from the New Orleans Saints playing the Tampa Bay Bucks, who have the 7th worst defense overall, and although they've been pretty good versus opposing running backs, Alvin Kamara has averaged 14.9 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6.9 targets per game and 12.2 rushes per game. So he's touching right around 20 touches per game. He scored 16, 19, and 26 fantasy points in his last 3 games last year. He's projected at 16.6 fantasy points here in Week 1. He's $8,300 FanDuel salary and $1,100 less on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 49.5 points scored in this game, so a high-scoring game, and they have the New Orleans Saints only favored by 4. So we got another competitive game. So I like Alvin Kamara here versus the Tampa Bay Bucks.
At running back, we like Philadelphia's Miles Sanders at a ridiculously low price of $6,800.
I can't believe it. I just don't believe it.
We can't believe it either, because Miles Sanders is the clear lead back, gets involved in the passing game, and will be the primary goal line carrier. When Philadelphia played at Washington late last year, he had a monster game, getting 172 total yards and 2 TDs. Well, now he's a 6-point favorite at Washington again with an implied total of 25 points. Just be sure to check late breaking news because at the time of taping, he has a lower body injury.
Okay guys, before we get into the rest of our picks, I want to let Eric introduce himself and tell you a little bit more about Fantasy Football Consultants.
Hello everybody, it's great to be here. I'm Eric Lee from the Fantasy Football Consultants YouTube channel and the website at fantasyfootballconsultants.net. Although we also cover NFL survivor pools, our passion is daily fantasy football. We have developed a 9-course NFL DFS masterclass, a statistically based analysis of proven strategies. Best of all, this masterclass series of videos is free on YouTube. Our main focus during the season is breaking down the main slate each week on DraftKings and FanDuel, providing our full lineup for cash games and GPP. We also offer our subscribers free entry contests to win real money. When Gary and I founded the Fantasy Football Consultants a little over 2 years ago, we wanted to be entertaining. We like to have fun, sometimes with a soundboard.
Oh, yeah!
While providing clear advice that's backed with statistical data and in-depth fantasy football knowledge. Does this mean that we're always right?
No.
The truth is, fantasy football is inherently volatile. However, if you apply our principles consistently over time, you should be profitable. Now, the 2020 season will be like no other. With health uncertainties likely at an all-time high given the current environment, NFL DFS players will need to review inactive lists that are released 90 minutes before game time. They need to not only ensure their players are playing, but contemplate the ramifications of players not in their lineup, but on the inactive list to see if a value opportunity is available. That's what we call pulling a Montgomery Burns.
If you can take advantage of a situation in some way, it's your duty as an American to do it.
Thanks, Eric. We put a link to your free masterclass in the description of this video, so thank you for that. And now let's get back into our NFL Week 1 DFS picks. Okay, who do we have at the wide receiver position? I like Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks playing the Atlanta Falcons, who have the 11th worst defense overall, and they give up the 15th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Tyler Lockett has averaged 12.1 fantasy points per game on the season last year. He got an average of 6.9 targets per game, but he had 10, 8, and 7 targets in the last 3 games, and he scored 24, 8, and 14 fantasy points. So this guy's got some major upside. He was on the field for 90% of the snaps, so he's always out there. If you're going to play Russell Wilson, this is a nice wide receiver to stack along with him. It's his favorite deep ball target, and he's projected at 11.2 fantasy points here in Week 1. He's $6,800 FanDuel salary and $300 less on DraftKings. So we know Vegas thinks there's going to be 48.5 points scored in this game. Seattle Seahawks favored by 1. It's a high-scoring game. This is a great game to target players from. So I like Tyler Lockett here versus the Atlanta Falcons.
At wide receiver, we like Green Bay's Devante Adams at $8,000. Adams is the consensus second best wide receiver in fantasy, only trailing Michael Thomas. And he's the only truly talented wide receiver Green Bay has. Minnesota struggled against wide receivers last year, ranking 23 out of 32 teams. And no wide receiver took advantage of them more than Devante Adams. In 2 games last year against Minnesota, Adams averaged 10 receptions for 112 yards.
Okay, let's take a look at the tight end position. I like Hunter Henry from the LA Chargers playing the Cincinnati Bengals, who have the 8th worst defense overall, and they've been middle of the pack defending opposing tight ends. Hunter Henry averaged 10.2 fantasy points per game on the season last year, getting an average of 6.3 targets per game. He was on the field for 58% of the snaps. He's projected at 9.2 fantasy points here in week 1. He's $6,000 FanDuel salary and $700 less on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 44 points scored in this game. They have the Chargers favored by 3.5, so another close game. So I like Hunter Henry here versus the Cincinnati Bengals.
At tight end, we like Hayden Hurst at only $5,200.
I tell you, I don't get no respect at all.
Hayden Hurst got no respect last year, underutilized in Baltimore with Mark Andrews on the roster. But Hurst did catch an impressive 77% of the passes that were thrown his way last year. Now he becomes the lead tight end in Atlanta, where Austin Hooper last year averaged almost 6 catches for 60 yards. In week 1, Hurst is playing in the second highest over-under game on the main slate and against a Seattle team that trailed only Arizona as the worst team to defend tight ends.
Okay, now let's take a look at the flex position. I like Adam Thielen from the Minnesota Vikings playing the Green Bay Packers, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they've been middle-of-the-pack defending opposing wide receivers. Adam Thielen averaged 9.9 fantasy points per game on the season last year, getting an average of 4.8 targets per game, although he got 7 and 9 targets in the last 2 games, scoring 8 and 15 fantasy points. He's projected at 11.7 fantasy points here in week 1. He's $6,800 FanDuel salary and $100 less on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 46.5 points scored in this game. They have the Vikings favored by 3.5. So I like Adam Thielen here versus the Green Bay Packers.
At the flex position, we like Allen Robinson at $7,200. People forget Robinson had 98 receptions on 154 targets. Now he actually has a competent quarterback in Nick Foles throwing to him. Robinson goes up against a Detroit defense that ranked dead last versus the pass last year. In 2 games versus Detroit last year, Robinson averaged 7 receptions for 86 yards. Like Miles Sanders, Allen Robinson has an injury, so be sure to check late breaking news. I want to take a moment to thank Chris from DraftDashboard.com for letting me be a guest on his show. At Fantasy Football Consultants, we have used Draft Dashboard tools for over 2 years. It provides a litany of important player statistical data in an easy-to-review platform that will save you a significant amount of research time. The Draft Dashboard platform can work hand-in-hand with the knowledge learned in Fantasy Football Consultants' free NFL DFS Masterclass series on YouTube. The first class covers the rules of daily fantasy football, plus 10 basic tips for success. The second class discusses factors to pick the right contest, including analysis of payout structure, rake, and overlays. The third through the 7th class details selection strategies for each position: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and defense respectively. The 8th and 9th class provides a deep dive into the cash game and GPP strategies. We're so excited the NFL season is almost here. We want to wish everyone good luck in week 1.
Thanks again, Eric. And just to remind everyone, the link to that free masterclass is in the description of this video, so make sure to check that out and follow these fantasy football consultants. They're going to help you a ton this year. Oh, and they were kind enough to invite me to appear on their show where we focus on the DraftKings pricing. So you can take a look at their YouTube channel and get some bonus content over there.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video.